One of the biggest technological breakthroughs of our entire civilization is something you've probably never heard of. You've definitely never thought about it. It's called DOT, and without it, the modern world as we know it does not exist.
Let's go.
Okay, so DOT stands for Designated Order Turnaround. It was the first computerized order routing system on the New York Stock Exchange, the NYSE. In the 1970s, for the first time in history, you could input a stock trade into a computer and have it executed digitally. Pause there. That sounds obvious today, but in the 1970s, that was insane. Because before this, trades were literally being yelled out, written down on paper, and being carried by people across a crowded floor to another human, and then to another human, and then to another human, until it finally landed at the company or the banks and they knew about the trade. It was the absolute wild, wild west of trading. That terminal computer called DOT turned that craziness into data. And that single change did something extraordinary. It didn't just improve Wall Street, it accelerated civilization. And we are still living inside the consequences of that acceleration right now. Before the DOT, capitalism moved at the speed of humans. Phones, paper, physical presence, money moved slowly because people move slowly. This wasn't ideology, it was physics. Humans can only move so fast. DOT broke that limit. It allowed capital to move at the speed of technology. And once money could move faster, everything connected to money sped up too, obviously. Businesses scaled faster, innovation accelerated, risk could be distributed faster, capital could reach ideas before they died. If that sounds abstract, think about it this way. A breakthrough used to wait for money. After DOT, money could chase the breakthrough. That's the electric shock. That's the moment the system wakes up. From that pivotal point and moving forward, Wall Street wasn't just a place where stocks were traded. It became infrastructure, like highways, like power grids, like the internet. You don't notice it until it stops working. A lot of people look at Wall Street and think it's fake. And I get it, because it's just numbers on a screen. It's abstract value, nothing real. The reaction makes absolute sense. But those numbers represent something very real. Speed. Not wealth sitting in a vault, but movement. Constant digital flow. Speed is what funds medicine. Speed is what lets companies grow globally. Speed is what allows capital to reach ideas before they expire. And DOT was the catalyst. It put Wall Street on the path to not handling billions, not trillions, but quadrillions. And this is critical, not because people suddenly got greedier, because the system could finally handle that much flow. Once you digitize trades, the next question becomes obvious. If computers can handle orders, why stop there? Well, that's where the SuperDOT comes in. And in the 1980s, speed begins to compound with this revolutionary upgrade to the terminal. SuperDOT wasn't just faster than DOT. This upgrade terminal was a threshold, really. In the 1980s, SuperDOT expanded everything. Larger orders, faster routing, more automation. By the late 80s, it was handling over 90% of the NYSE's volume and enabling the first billion share trading days. Let that sink in. 1 billion shares in a single day. That doesn't happen without machines. Now, trades weren't just digitized, they were flowing, in full flow. And here's the key idea. At a certain speed, humans literally cannot keep up. Reaction time stops mattering, so the advantage shifts. Not who shouts louder, not who stands closest to the broker, it's who can predict the future. And that's the shift. SuperDOT unlocked something else. It allowed trading strategies to plug directly into execution. That's where algorithmic trading begins. Not AI, not yet. not machines thinking, it's just rules. If this happens, do that. If price moves here, route it there. If the spread widens, capture it. If you've ever set up an automatic email rule or used Excel if functions, it's the same principle. It's just simple logic. But when simple logic runs at electronic speeds, scale explodes. Because now strategy is software, and software scales infinitely better than people. Before SuperDOT, a human still stood between strategy and execution. After SuperDOT, that gap shrank incredibly, because eventually it disappeared. Trades could be generated, routed, and executed without hesitation. No emotion, no delay. Markets stopped being rooms. They became networks. And once markets become networks, volume expands beyond anything a physical floor could handle. Billions became trillions, trillions became quadrillions, in notional flow across derivatives, clearing systems, and global equity of infrastructure. I mean, it's stupid. It's just a fancy way of saying money is flowing in different ways. Because now you have constant coordination and flow electronically. This isn't greed. This is physics. It's ones and zeros, and physics doesn't have opinion or judgment. It just follows laws. Once you digitize a system, you optimize it. Once you optimize it, you automate it. And once you automate it, you scale it. Finance isn't unique. Every industry follows this exact same curve. And SuperDOT was the moment the scaling curve just steepened. The 1970s digitized trades, the 1980s connected strategy to speed. From there on, finance wasn't limited by human bandwidth. It was limited by computing power. After that, electronic trading just stopped being revolutionary. It's just normalcy for us and for pretty much everyone. So trading floors shrank, screens expanded, markets moved from rooms to networks. And here's a subtle shift most people never think about. The system stopped sleeping at some point. Markets that once opened and closed like stores began operating like servers, always on, always processing, time compressed, milliseconds to microseconds. I mean, it's not because someone demanded it, because once speed exists, it just gets optimized. That compression of time changed coordination itself. Capital could move instantly. Risk could be hedged instantly. Supply chains could stabilize instantly. Money became less about place, more about connection. At this point, the numbers sound kind of absurd, and they are. Quadrillions in notional value moving through global systems every year is a ridiculous statement, but it's true. If we could see digital money flowing through the air, it would just be constant lines and trails of money distorting the skyline. It would be everywhere. It'd be like highways moving cars, but just everywhere. The system moves capital at just what it does. And without that movement, the modern economy stalls. So what's next? Now what? Well, now we're entering the next layer, which is crazy. Not just finance, but programmable finance. Once money becomes software, the next step is obvious. You don't just move it faster, you program it. And programmable finance is just a fancy way of saying crypto. People think it's some sort of rebellion. It's not. It's just continuation. It's the same pattern. Digitize the execution, then digitize the rules themselves. It makes sense. Traditional markets digitize trades. Programmable finance is just digital agreements, kind of like when money moves, where it settles, how risk is enforced, who gets paid and when. It's just rules. Instead of people calling each other to confirm it, the rules just confirm themselves. Same evolution. DOT removed the runners. Programmable systems remove coordination and friction. When people say finance feels fake, they're reacting to the abstraction of it. And they're right. Most people didn't and still don't understand what happened with the DOT back in the 70s, let alone this new crypto evolution. Abstraction is increasing, but Abstraction is what scales and allows scale, and scale is what funds modern life. Medicine, technology, global coordination. The modern world, unfortunately, runs on the speed of money. And that speed started with a terminal in the 1970s most people have never heard of. Everything since has just been acceleration. And now, we're moving even faster. And it's not going to stop.